They called it the Harrower, a warship built by the Igrith Dominion, one of the core species of the Deathworld Alliance. It was 3 kilometers of living alloy and neural-embedded weapons, a ship so advanced that it thought and killed faster than any known fleet. It had already destroyed 2 colonies and crippled an entire battle group from the Zantri Confederacy. None of that mattered to Captain Daniel Briggs. He stood on the cold steel deck of the TNS Valiant, Earth's first real interstellar warship. Not a colony vessel, not a repurposed mining freighter, but a ship built for one thing: to kill. "Enemy contact, 2 light minutes out," Lieutenant Harper called from Sensor Ops. "Signature matches the Harrower. It's moving toward the Alliance fleet." The Alliance ships were already breaking formation. No surprise. They were fast, elegant, fragile things, ships made for posturing and skirmishes, not real war. The Alliance Council had begged Earth for help, not because they trusted humans, but because they had no choice. Briggs watched the holodisplay as icons flickered, Alliance ships retreating, some already gone to FTL. The Harrower advanced alone, a predator in a sea of cowards. "Open a line to the Alliance, Commander," Briggs said. His voice was cold steel. No fear, no hesitation. A moment later, the feed connected. The alien's face appeared. Admiral Kreth, a skeletal-eyed Volari, voice dripping with disdain. "Captain Briggs," Kreth sneered, "you are advised to withdraw. That ship has defeated fleets far superior to your primitive vessel." Briggs didn't smile. He leaned forward, voice calm and hard. "We didn't come here to watch your ships run. We came to finish this." He cut the line. "Combat stations," he ordered. Red alert klaxons blared. The crew moved with precision, trained for this moment. The Valiant was ugly, brutal, built like a floating fortress of earth steel and kinetic cannons. No elegant energy weapons, just railguns, torpedoes, and point defense systems designed to overwhelm, to crush. "Helm, bring us in. Weapons hot." The crew obeyed. No one questioned him. They knew what this was, Earth's first real fight in galactic space. One ship against the monster that had broken the Alliance. As the Valiant closed the distance, the Harrower began to react. Its outer plating shifted, growing spines and antennae. Bioplasma batteries came online, glowing like blue suns. "Incoming fire," Harper shouted. The first blast hit, a searing bolt of plasma that rocked the Valiant, frying outer sensor arrays. Damage reports scrolled across Briggs' console, but the core systems held. Earth steel, human engineering. "Return fire," Briggs said. The Valiant's railguns spoke. Solid tungsten slugs accelerated to hypersonic speeds, tearing through the void. Several slammed into the Harrower's outer armor, one buried deep enough to rupture an internal node. A gout of organic fluid sprayed into space. Briggs allowed himself a grim nod. It could be hurt. "Helm, evasive pattern Delta 4, he ordered. "Keep those batteries from locking." The Valiant danced, not graceful, but brutal and fast in its own way. More plasma bolts missed, streaking past as the ship surged forward. Closer. Closer. Inside the CIC, the tension was electric. The crew was silent, focused. They all knew the stakes. If the Harrower destroyed them, Earth would be seen as weak, just another soft world in a hard galaxy. If they won, humanity's name would be carved into the stars. Another volley. Railguns shredded more of the Harrower's armor. But now the alien ship adapted. Its living alloy thickened, regenerating. It fired again. This time a beam weapon that sliced across the Valiant's side, shearing off a secondary turret. Sparks rained across the bridge. Briggs stayed steady. "Load the Hellfire torpedoes," he ordered. The crew hesitated for only a breath. They all knew. Nuclear torpedoes, forbidden under Alliance law. But this wasn't an Alliance fight anymore. It was survival. "Sir," Harper said, voice low, "if we fire those—" Briggs cut him off. "Fire them." The tubes cycled. The torpedoes launched, 6 bright flares racing toward the Harrower. The alien ship reacted, countermeasures blossoming, interceptors firing, but one, just one, made it through. A white flash. The shockwave slammed the Valiant sideways, warning sirens howling. On the hollow, the Harrower burned, its bioarmor cracked, leaking sickly green energy. For the first time since the battle began, it began to back away. A quiet fell over the bridge. Then Briggs spoke, voice iron. "Chase it." The order hung in the air like a war drum. "Chase it." No one on the bridge questioned Briggs. They knew him. If the enemy showed weakness, you hit harder. That was the first thing they drilled into every Earth Navy officer. Never give a predator a chance to recover. "Full thrust," Briggs said. His voice was calm, but beneath it there was steel. "Bring us within effective cannon range." The TNS Valiant roared forward, its massive engines burning white-hot. G-forces pressed the crew into their acceleration couches. The Harrower, wounded but still deadly, was pulling back now, retreating, but not beaten. "Sir," Harper called out, "its main drives are fluctuating. Looks like we damaged its neural core with that torpedo hit." Briggs studied the hollow. The Harrower was bleeding energy trails, its once perfect maneuvering degraded. But the thing still had teeth. Bioplasma turrets tracked them, and even crippled, its weapons outranged anything the Valiant had. "We're faster," Briggs said. "Stay on at 6. If it turns to fight, we punch it straight through the heart." No one argued. They'd already crossed the line, firing Hellfire torpedoes, violating Alliance doctrine. If they lost now, they'd be branded war criminals. If they won, Earth would be feared. There was no middle ground anymore. A warning siren blared. "Brace!" Harper shouted. A sudden burst of plasma lances tore through space, savage, desperate fire from the retreating Harrower. The Valiant juked hard to starboard. One bolt grazed the hull, melting through outer armor plates. Sparks flew. One of the bridge consoles blew out, sending a tech sprawling. Smoke filled the air, acrid and thick. Briggs didn't flinch. "Damage report. Minor breaches in decks 7 through 9. No critical systems down," Harper replied through a cough. "We're still combat effective." "Good." Briggs's eyes narrowed. "Let's remind them." "Railguns locked. Firing." The Valiant's main spinal gun unleashed another barrage of kinetic slugs, meters-long rods of depleted uranium moving at a fraction of light speed. They slammed into the Harrower's wounded flank, tearing through already damaged armor. The enemy ship shuddered. Organic hull tissue ruptured, venting atmosphere and strange fluids into the void. But still, the thing refused to die. "Sir," Harper said grimly, "I'm picking up subspace fluctuations." "It's trying to spool up its FTL." Briggs' eyes hardened. If that thing escaped, if it limped back to the Deathworld Alliance, repaired and returned, it could lay waste to half the sector. Worse, it would embolden the other Deathworld species. Earth would be seen as a failed experiment, a savage planet whose reach exceeded its grasp. "We don't let it run," Briggs said coldly. "Arm second Hellfire salvo." A beat of silence. Then Harper said, "Sir, we only have 2 torpedoes left. After that—" "I know." Briggs didn't hesitate. "We use them now. We end this." The crew obeyed. They didn't have to like it. They just had to follow orders. On Earth ships, that was how wars were won. "Target lock achieved." Briggs exhaled. For a moment, the only sound on the bridge was the low hum of the engines and the ragged breathing of the crew. "Fire." The last two Hellfire torpedoes streaked from the Valiant's launch bays, twin comets of death racing toward the crippled Harrower. Too late, the enemy ship reacted. Point defense tendrils unfolded, spitting clouds of interceptors. One torpedo was intercepted, shattered into 1,000 pieces by microplasma bursts. The second slipped through. Time slowed. Everyone on the Valiant watched the holo. The torpedo impacted near the Harrower's aft core. A blinding white explosion ripped through the alien ship, this time more violent than before. The Harrower spasmed, its living metal cracking, entire sections breaking away. Its FTL drive signature vanished. Gone. Dead. Cheers erupted on the bridge, brief, fierce. Then Briggs cut them off with a raised hand. "It's not over," he said sharply. "Weapons free. Keep firing. We reduce that thing to scrap." They obeyed. The Valiant circled the dying behemoth, unloading volley after volley. Railguns, Gauss cannons, autocannons. Every hit peeled away more of the Harrower's hull, exposing quivering inner structures. The thing was half alive, half dead now, a shattered predator bleeding into the void. Finally, the massive ship ceased all movement. No energy emissions, no weapons active, no life signs. The bridge fell silent. "Confirmed kill," Harper said softly. His voice was almost reverent. "The Harrower is dead." Briggs allowed himself a single breath of satisfaction, but only a moment's worth. "Scan for survivors," he ordered. "Wreckage analysis. I want everything we can salvage." "Aye, sir." The comms officer spoke up suddenly. "Incoming transmission from Alliance Command." Briggs' jaw tightened. He knew what was coming. The same ones who'd begged for Earth's help would now want to dictate the victory. "Put it through." Admiral Kreth's gaunt face appeared on the holo again. But this time, the arrogance was gone, replaced by something cold and wary. "Captain Briggs," Kreth said slowly, "you have exceeded expectations." Translation: "You've made us nervous." Briggs didn't play polite. "The Harrower is dead. You're welcome." Kreth's skeletal eyes narrowed. "And you used prohibited weapons to achieve this outcome." Briggs leaned forward. His voice dropped into an iron tone. "You called us because your vaunted fleets couldn't stop that thing. We stopped it. Now you want to lecture us on methods?" There was a beat of silence. Then Kreth said carefully, "The political ramifications of this engagement will be complex." Briggs gave a humorless smile. "I'll leave the politics to you, Admiral. Earth came here to end a threat. We've done that." Without waiting for permission, he cut the line. The crew exhaled. No one spoke. They knew what was coming now. The Alliance would spin this, try to downplay Earth's role, or worse, condemn them for saving their skins. Briggs stood. His voice was quiet, but every man on the bridge heard the steel beneath it. "Send word to Earth Command. Tell them the Harrower is destroyed, mission success, and tell them this." He paused. The weight of the moment was heavy. "We've just made enemies, powerful ones, and now the whole galaxy knows what an Earth warship can do." Harper looked up. "Sir, do you think they'll retaliate?" Briggs met his gaze. "Count on it." There was no victory parade waiting, no grateful allies, just a cold galaxy full of predators, now aware that Earth was no longer a backwater world to ignore. But that was fine. Briggs hadn't come here for politics. He'd come for war. "Helm," he said quietly, "plot us a course back to the fleet. We've got repairs to make." As the TNS Valiant turned away from the ruined carcass of the Harrower, its engines burned bright against the black. Far behind them, Alliance ships crept forward again, emboldened only after the threat was dead. But none of them would forget who'd done the killing. Neither would the enemies watching from the shadows. Briggs knew it. The crew knew it. Earth had bloodied the stars tonight. And now, there would be consequences. The TNS Valiant limped through the debris field, the stars cold and indifferent beyond the shredded corpse of the harrower. The silence on the bridge was heavy now, not tension, not relief. Something in between. A grim knowing. "Status report," Briggs said. His voice cut through the fog of adrenaline. Harper wiped a streak of blood from his temple and checked the data feed. "We're holding, sir. Core systems green. We've got hull breaches on deck 7 to 10, minor. Weapons 2 and 5 are offline, but the main spine gun's operational." A pause. "Engineering's working triple shifts. The crew's beat to hell, but they'll hold." They always held. Earth crews weren't bred in military academies like the Alliance species. They were forged in warfare, poverty, desperation, the kind of pressure that made steel, not gold. "Good," Briggs said. He leaned back in the command chair, the worn leather creaking under his weight. His eyes never left the hollow, where the remains of the harrower still drifted, a grave marker to the ship that had slaughtered fleets. Now it was scrap. And Earth had done it. But there was no time to bask in it. Briggs knew the real war was just starting. "Any word from Earth Command?" he asked. The comms officer shook his head. "No response yet, sir. We've got a long delay. Relay stations were disrupted by the harrower's first attack on the sector." Of course they were. The damn Alliance hadn't even protected its own critical infrastructure. That's why Earth had been dragged into this mess. They hadn't wanted to intervene. Earth's military council hated the Alliance, weak, decadent, ruled by politics instead of strength. But the harrower had changed everything. It had been carving through sectors like a plague. Civilian colonies gone dark, merchants disappearing, rumors of entire worlds raised. The Alliance had no choice but to beg Earth, the one Deathworld species that still remembered how to fight real wars. And Earth had answered. One ship, one kill. Message sent. Now the galaxy was listening. Briggs rose from his chair. He didn't trust leaving the crew alone too long after a battle like this. Shock, burnout, survivor's guilt. But they were hardened. They'd hold. "Harper, you have the deck. I'll be in the briefing room." "Aye, sir." Briggs stalked off the bridge, boots echoing on steel. No fancy alloy floors like Alliance ships. The Valiant was built the old way. Steel, tungsten, carbon-reinforced bulkheads. A warship made to survive worse than this. The door hissed shut behind him in the briefing room. Dim lights flickered. The holotable hummed softly, waiting. Briggs keyed it on. A grainy feed from one of the last surviving recon drones came online. Alliance fleet movements. Cowards. They were regrouping, now that the harrower was dead. 8 species ships, forming a loose perimeter around the wreck. Too little. Too late. And they were broadcasting heavily encrypted signals, probably to their own governments, trying to figure out how to spin this disaster, trying to decide whether Earth was a hero or a problem. A harsh buzz interrupted the feed. Incoming encrypted communication. Briggs keyed it on. The face that appeared wasn't Kreth. It wasn't Alliance at all. It was Admiral Roth, Earth's sector commander, a big man with a shaved head and hard eyes, wearing an old Terran Navy uniform without the fancy new rank badges. "Briggs," Roth said. "No pleasantries, just steel on steel. We got your data dump. Harrower's confirmed dead?" "Yes, sir. We reduced it to slag." "Hell of a thing." Roth's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "The Alliance is already screaming bloody murder about your use of Hellfire ordnance." Briggs didn't blink. "We did what had to be done." "Damn right you did." Roth leaned forward. "You listen to me, Captain. You've just painted a target on Earth. Those bastards wanted us as lapdogs. Now they see us as wolves. Briggs nodded once. He'd known this from the moment he gave the first fire order. Orders, sir? Roth exhaled, a sound like a blast furnace cooling. Hold position. Guard that wreck. The tech on that thing is worth more than half their fleets combined. They'll send vultures, salvagers, spies, maybe even Black Ops kill teams. I understand. One more thing. Roth's eyes narrowed. We're dispatching 2 more ships, the Revenant and the Iron Fang. Heavy assault cruisers. They'll join you in 3 days. Until then, you hold alone. Alone. Of course. Understood, sir. Roth leaned back, his face going shadowed. You're a dead man if they decide to break the ceasefire. Be ready. I always am. The feed cut. Briggs stared at the blank hollow for a long moment. Alone, against a gathering storm, he keyed open the ship-wide communication. All hands, he said, voice steady. This is the captain. We've received new orders. We hold position until reinforcements arrive. He let that sink in. The crew already knew what it meant. The Alliance won't like that. They may test us. Let them. His tone dropped to a growl. We've bled for this kill. Now we'll guard it. Anyone who comes at us will find out why Earth still breeds warriors. He closed the channel. Hours later, the Valiant drifted silently beside the wreck of the Harrower. External drones scanned constantly. Every weapon was powered, crew on combat shifts, and the vultures came. It started with a Volari recon frigate, slinking into the debris field, running low-emission scans. Briggs was on the bridge instantly. Target weapons, he ordered. No warning shot. If they cross our perimeter, we burn them. The crew obeyed without hesitation. Earth's doctrine was clear. Respect through strength, survival through fire. Weakness invited death. The Volari frigate hesitated, then backed off. But that was only the first test. Later came a Zantri stealth corvette, trying to slip drones onto the wreck for tech retrieval. The Valiant's point defense lasers shredded the drones before they even got close. One by one, Alliance ships tested the perimeter. Small incursions, feints, probes. Each time, Briggs met them with cold force. No diplomacy, no compromises. We're the wolves now, he told Harper quietly, and the herd is scared. Harper grinned, a rare, savage smile. I like it better this way. But Briggs wasn't fooled. The real attack wouldn't be so obvious. And he was right. On the second day, the sensor team caught it, a faint spike in neutrino flux, deep inside the wreck of the Harrower. Sir, Harper reported urgently, there's movement in the wreck. Internal power readings just spiked. Someone's inside. How the hell? Then it clicked. Not an external attack. A boarding team. Already in the wreck before we even arrived. Cloaked. Waiting. Briggs' eyes narrowed. Sound boarding alert. Marines to launch bay. I'm going with them. Harper blinked. Sir. I said I'm going. There was no time for argument. Briggs grabbed his combat armor. A heavy black exosuit, scarred from half a dozen boarding actions. He armed himself. A mag rifle, sidearm, blade. By the time he hit the launch bay, the Valiant's Marine squad was already suited and ready. 10 men, led by Sergeant Kane, a grizzled veteran with eyes like stone. Orders, Captain? Kane asked. We've got intruders inside the wreck, Briggs said flatly. We're going in. No prisoners. The Marines grinned. Moments later, the boarding shuttle launched, a black dart sliding through space toward the shattered Harrower. As they neared the breach point, a jagged rupture in the enemy hull. Briggs felt the old familiar calm settle over him. Not fear, not rage, just cold readiness. Whatever was inside that wreck, whoever thought they could outmaneuver Earth's wolves, was about to learn the same hard lesson the Harrower had. The shuttle shuddered as it locked onto the Harrower's ruined hull. Through the viewport, Briggs saw the jagged breach, twisted metal, scorched bone-like plating, and exposed biotissue oozing strange fluids into the void. The harrower looked less like a ship now and more like a dead beast. Perfect cover for intruders. Sergeant Kane's voice crackled over the squad channel. T-10 seconds. Lock and load. Briggs checked his mag rifle, then the power levels on his exosuit. Green across the board. The suit's servos hummed faintly as he flexed his gauntleted fingers. He wasn't just here to oversee. He was here to kill. The shuttle hatch opened with a hydraulic hiss. Vacuum rushed past them, sucking out what little atmosphere remained inside the wreck. Briggs led the way, magnetic boots locking onto twisted metal as he stepped into the breach. "Secure perimeter," Kane ordered. The Marines fanned out instantly, disciplined, focused, no chatter, no hesitation. Inside, the harrower's guts were a nightmare. Organic cables dangled from the ceiling like dead vines. Fluids pooled on warped floors. Strange bone-like struts jutted at unnatural angles. It smelled of burned flesh and rot, even through the suit's filters. Harper's voice came through Briggs' communication. "Captain, we've isolated the power spike. Midship, roughly 50 meters below your current position. Unknown life signatures detected." "Copy," Briggs replied. "Moving in." He signaled the squad. They advanced down a twisted corridor, mag clamps gripping the wreck's uneven surfaces. The deeper they moved, the worse the damage. And the stranger the interior became. The harrower hadn't been just a machine. It had been alive in ways no Earth engineers fully understood. And now it was dying, its neural pathways severed, its organic core exposed, but something was still moving inside it. "Motion sensors picking up movement ahead," Kane reported. "Fast." Briggs raised his rifle. Weapons free. Suddenly, a blur of motion. A figure darted across the corridor ahead. Sleek black armor, humanoid but elongated, limbs moving with unnatural grace. "Contact!" Kane barked. Rifles blazed. The figure was fast, too fast, but not invincible. A burst from Briggs' mag rifle caught it mid-stride, shredding part of its armor, sending it sprawling in a spray of alien blood. The Marines closed in, weapons trained. The thing twitched, then stilled. Briggs stepped closer, boot crunching on shattered bone metal. It wasn't Alliance, not Valari, not Xantri, not one of the typical spies. No, this was Karnan Tech, black market assassins, mercenaries who sold their services to the highest bidder. And that meant someone had paid well to have eyes inside this wreck. "Stay sharp," Briggs ordered. "There'll be more." And there were. The deeper they pushed, the more resistance they met. Stealth operatives, Karnan or worse, moving like shadows through the wreck. The fighting was brutal and close. Mag rounds punching through narrow corridors, blades clashing when the firefights grew too tight. Briggs fought at the front, his suit amplifying every movement, his blade carving through an enemy's throat before the next could react. The squad held tight formation, moving methodically, room by room, bulkhead by bulkhead. Finally, they reached the source of the power spike, a massive central chamber, once the harrower's neural core. It looked like a cathedral of death. Vast columns of organic alloy rose into darkness, pulsating faintly. The neural core itself was shattered, ripped open by the hellfire blast. But something had been jury-rigged here. A strange black device, alien tech fused with what remained of the harrower's systems. And around it, 4 more Karnan operatives, armed and waiting. They didn't hesitate. As Briggs's team breached the chamber, the enemy opened fire. High-velocity shards slicing the air. 1 Marine went down, armor pierced. The others returned fire in a storm of tungsten. Briggs charged straight in, using a fallen column for cover. He popped up and fired. 3 rounds through one enemy's chest, sending it crashing into the core. Kane flanked left, 2 Marines with him, grenades detonating, shredding another operative in a burst of blood and metal. The fight lasted less than 20 seconds. When it ended, the chamber was littered with broken bodies, smoke hanging thick in the air. Briggs moved to the strange device. It hummed ominously, lights pulsing. Harper's voice came through. "Captain, we're reading elevated subspace emissions from your location. Possible data transmission attempt." "They're trying to send something," Briggs muttered. He didn't hesitate. He ripped the device from its housing, servo-assisted arms tearing through cables and bioconduits. Sparks showered the deck as the machine went dark. "Transmission terminated," Harper confirmed. Briggs exhaled, sweat slicking his skin beneath the suit. "Mission accomplished," he said grimly. "We're pulling out." Back aboard the Valiant, the mood was colder now. 1 Marine dead, 3 wounded. But the wreck was secure, and whatever data the Karnan had tried to steal was lost. Briggs stood in the CIC, watching the Alliance ships hovering at the edge of scanner range. Predators now too cautious to strike. But for how long? Harper approached. "Sir, we ID'd the Karnan squad, high-tier operators. Someone paid top credit for them." "Not surprised," Briggs said flatly. "Who do you think ordered it?" Briggs stared at the holo for a long moment. His voice was low. "Could have been any of them. Alliance factions don't trust each other, or us. The tech in that wreck could change everything. Whoever controls it could leap a century ahead." Harper nodded grimly. "And Earth just proved we can kill their best ship. Which means we're the biggest threat now." Briggs looked around the CIC, at his battered crew, at the scarred ship still holding formation alone. "We're wolves now, Harper," he said quietly, "and the herd's gathering." That night, Briggs didn't sleep. He sat alone in his quarters, armored boots on the floor, bottle of black market whiskey untouched on the desk. Outside the viewport, the harrower's shattered corpse drifted in the void. He knew what was coming. The Deathworld Alliance would not forgive this humiliation. The weaker species would fear Earth. The stronger ones would plot. The old balance of power was shattered. And Earth? Earth had no friends in this galaxy, just teeth. A chime broke the silence. Priority message incoming. Briggs keyed it open. Admiral Roth's face filled the screen, grim as ever. "You did good, Captain," Roth said. "But things are moving fast." "I figured," Roth nodded. "Intelligence confirms multiple factions are mobilizing. Some Alliance fleets are regrouping. Worse, Karnan mercs have gone dark. More hits coming." "What's our play?" Briggs asked. Roth's eyes narrowed. "Hold that wreck until Revenant and Iron Fang arrive. Once they're on station, we strip the Harrower tech, then pull back. But listen to me, Briggs. Do not die there. Earth needs commanders like you more than it needs scrap trophies." Briggs gave a tight nod. "Understood." Roth's voice dropped lower. "And Captain, one more thing." "Yes?" "If anyone tries to board you again, anyone, Alliance, Karnan, I don't care who, kill them all." Briggs' mouth curved in a cold smile. "With pleasure." The feed cut. Briggs sat for a moment longer, then rose. War was coming. Not the cold proxy wars of the past. Real war, and Earth would be ready. He donned his uniform, strapped on his sidearm, and strode back toward the bridge. If the wolves wanted to test Earth's teeth again, they'd get their answer. The bridge was quiet when Briggs returned. The hum of life support and the low chatter of the crew at their consoles were the only sounds. Every man and woman there wore the same look, exhaustion barely held in check by sheer will. They knew the score now. They weren't some distant patrol anymore. They were the front line. Briggs took his seat in the command chair. Status. Harper looked up from the tactical display. No further intrusions detected. Alliance ships are maintaining distance. The Karnan Wreck team was confirmed dead. We've tagged the bodies for offload once the Revenant arrives. Briggs gave a nod. Good. He leaned forward, eyes fixed on the holomap. 3 separate Alliance flotillas hovered at various points around the debris field now. Volari destroyers, Xantri stealth frigates, and even a small Lothari battleship squadron. Watching. Waiting. They're building a blockade, Harper said quietly. Trying to box us in. Briggs wasn't surprised. The Alliance couldn't openly attack, not yet. But a blockade was the next best thing. Force Earth's hand. Force a political negotiation that would rob them of the harrower wreck. Not happening. Arm all batteries, Briggs ordered. Weapons on hot standby. Harper hesitated. Sir, if we do that, it's an act of open aggression. Briggs looked at him coldly. Harper, we're sitting in the middle of a goddamn trap. I'm not going to wait for the knife to fall. If they want us gone, they'll have to come take us. Harper's mouth tightened. He nodded. Aye, sir. Across the ship, weapon systems came online. The Valiant bristled with raw, ugly firepower. Railguns loaded, point defense turrets tracking, torpedo tubes primed. No Alliance ship within range would mistake the message. Hours passed. The blockade closed tighter, like a noose of gleaming ships against the cold black. But the Valiant didn't move. Briggs kept his crew cycling in shifts, combat readiness every 4 hours, sleep in short rotations. The men grumbled, but no one disobeyed. They knew what happened to the last crew that underestimated a Deathworlder threat. And then, a message came through. Sir, the comms officer said, priority hail from Admiral Kreth. Briggs almost smiled. Of course, the politicians always came when the guns were loaded. Put him through. Kreth's skeletal face filled the screen, every line of it dripping false civility. Captain Briggs, Kreth said smoothly, how fortuitous that we can speak before matters. Escalate. Briggs leaned back in his chair, arms folded. Go on, Admiral. Kreth's eyes glittered. You are surrounded by lawful Alliance forces. Your presence here, while appreciated during the battle, is now problematic for the stability of the sector. Briggs didn't blink. The wreck is ours by right of salvage. We killed the harrower. Your fleets ran. Kreth's thin smile didn't reach his eyes. Earth was not authorized to deploy weapons of mass effect. The use of Hellfire Ordnance was a violation of interspecies law. Under treaty clauses, that makes your claim null. Briggs let a long silence stretch between them. Then he spoke. You want the wreck, Admiral? Come take it. The line crackled. Kreth's mask of civility slipped, just for an instant. Such arrogance will not serve your people well, Captain. Briggs bared his teeth in a cold grin. We'll manage. He cut the line without waiting for a response. Harper exhaled. Sir, that was bold. They weren't coming to talk, Briggs said. They're buying time. They're probably already planning an assault. He stood, pacing the bridge slowly. We need an edge, he muttered. Something they won't expect. Harper looked thoughtful. We could rig the wreck. Plant demo charges. If they board, we blow it. Too predictable. They'll expect traps. A voice from the engineering console spoke up. Chief Engineer Grayson, grizzled and blunt. Captain, what if we do more than trap it? Briggs turned. Explain. Grayson stepped forward, a grease-streaked tablet in one hand. The harrower's still leaking raw energy from its neural core. That power's unstable, real volatile. If we cross-link it with our reactor output, we could rig the whole wreck as a massive EMP bomb. One detonation would fry every ship in this sector, ours included, but also theirs. Briggs's eyes narrowed. How long to set it? 6 hours. Maybe 5 if we push. Harper frowned. That's a scorched earth option, sir. Briggs nodded slowly. Exactly. He looked around at the crew. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and cut off. If they think they can take this wreck without bleeding for it, they'll press. We need them to fear what happens if they push too far. He met Grayson's gaze. Do it. The old engineer grinned. Aye, Captain. Hours crawled past as Grayson's team worked. Meanwhile, Alliance ships shifted, destroyers inching closer, stealth frigates probing the flanks. The noose tightened. Then, a warning siren blared. Multiple FTL signatures inbound, Harper barked. Unidentified, coming in fast. Briggs was on his feet instantly. On screen, the holodisplay flashed, 2 massive drive signatures blooming on the edge of the blockade. And then, 2 familiar hull profiles resolved. The TNS Revenant, the TNS Iron Fang. Earth's heavy assault cruisers, meaner, uglier, and nastier than anything the Alliance had in this sector. Cheers erupted on the bridge. Harper grinned. Reinforcements are here, sir. Briggs's smile was thin, but real. Now we see how brave they really are. The Revenant and Iron Fang wasted no time, punching straight through the blockade line, weapons hot. The Alliance ships scattered. Nobody wanted to take a full broadside from Earth's cruisers. A channel opened. Admiral Roth himself. Briggs, Roth said, his voice hard as iron. We're on station. Situation report. Briggs summarized quickly. The blockade, the Karnan hit, the current standoff. Roth nodded grimly. Good work. We'll hold the line now. Begin data extraction from the wreck. Full priority. Understood. But Briggs wasn't done. Admiral, my chief engineer has rigged the wreck as an EMP bomb. If the Alliance tries a hard breach, we can deny them everything. Roth's eyes gleamed. Smart, very smart. Keep it live. Then Roth leaned forward, voice dropping. And Captain, one more thing. Intel confirms Alliance Warhawks are moving. If they do strike, Earth Command has authorized you to respond with lethal force. Briggs felt the blood hum in his veins. Understood, sir. The channel closed. The next 12 hours were a blur of action. Data cores ripped from the wreck, biological samples contained, weapons tech analyzed, every move broadcast loud and clear. Earth was taking the spoils of its kill, and damn what the Alliance thought. But tension remained razor-sharp. Alliance ships still circled, and when the Revenant and Iron Fang dropped a perimeter of heavy mines, it was clear the standoff wasn't over. Then came the final message. Sir, Harper said, new hail, from Kreth again. Briggs nodded. Let's hear it. Kreth's face appeared, this time openly furious. You have violated every treaty of this sector, Kreth hissed. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences. Briggs didn't even blink. You first. He cut the line. Then he keyed the ship-wide communication. All hands, brace for possible engagement. If they attack, we hold. We fight. And if necessary, we blow the damn wreck sky high. Across the ship, the crew answered with a single word. Aye. As the bridge lights dimmed to combat red, Briggs settled into his chair once more. The wolves were ready. And if the herd wanted war, let them come. Red lights pulsed through the Valiant's bridge, bathing the crew in war color. Every man and woman sat at their station, strapped in, eyes locked on the tactical display. The wolves were ready, and so was their captain. Briggs sat cold and still in the command chair, hands folded across his lap, voice calm as iron. Final status? Harper read down the display, voice clipped. Weapons hot, railguns loaded, torpedo tubes primed, EMP rig on the Harrower wreck is armed and standing by. Detonation circuits triple verified. Briggs nodded once. And the Alliance? Harper's mouth was grim. Forming attack wedge. 3 Volari destroyers in the lead, Zantri stealth wings flanking. Lothari battleships moving to support. Estimated time to contact, 4 minutes. 4 minutes. That was the line in the sand. Briggs looked out through the main view screen, eyes narrowing. The Alliance ships looked elegant, refined, all polished alloy curves and shimmering shields. But Earth had learned long ago that war wasn't won with pretty ships or lofty ideals. It was won with blood and steel. He opened the fleet channel. The Revenant and Iron Fang captains came on immediately. Commodore Hale and Captain Draeger, both old-school Terran Navy men, both ready to kill. Situation unchanged, Briggs said flatly. Alliance is pushing. If they commit, we hit back with full force. No prisoners. Hale grunted. They won't know what hit them. Draeger's voice was rough as gravel. They start it, we finish it. Briggs cut the line and keyed the ship-wide communication. All hands, this is the captain. Final warning. The Alliance is moving. If they fire, we return fire with extreme prejudice. No hesitation. No mercy. A beat of silence. Then across the ship, through every deck and corridor, the crew answered in unison, Aye! 2 minutes to contact. Briggs leaned forward, voice low. Harper, when they cross 20 clicks, broadcast one final warning. No more diplomacy. Aye, sir. The Alliance wedge kept coming, slow, deliberate, weapons visibly charging. Briggs watched them like a predator eyeing prey. They didn't think Earth would dare fight back. Not really. They still thought Earth was a fringe world, a savage species clinging to old warfare doctrines. They'd forgotten that old wars bred the deadliest killers. 1 minute. Alliance ships now 22 clicks, Harper called. Briggs nodded. Broadcast. A sharp tone sounded, and the channel opened wide on all frequencies. Briggs spoke, voice cold as vacuum. This is Captain Daniel Briggs of the Terran Navy ship Valiant. The wreck of the Harrower is now under Earth jurisdiction by right of salvage. Any hostile action will be met with immediate and lethal force. Stand down or be destroyed. He cut the signal. The Alliance ships didn't alter course. Harper's voice was flat. No response, still advancing. Briggs's eyes hardened. They've made their choice. 30 seconds to contact. Harper's voice rose. Zantri wings cloaking. They're going to try a flank. Briggs barked orders. Deploy counter-stealth drones. All point defense to autofire. Set secondary batteries to flank coverage. The bridge hummed with focused motion. Earthships didn't rely on fancy energy shields or graceful maneuvering. They relied on layers of hardened armor, brutal weapons, and sheer vicious intent. 10 seconds. Harper's final call. Destroyers charging primary lances, they're going to fire. Briggs stood and gave the order that would ignite the sector. Fire all batteries. The Valiant's railguns roared, the recoil vibrating through the hull. 6-meter tungsten slugs accelerated to hypersonic velocities, punching through the void toward the lead Volari destroyer. At the same instant, the Revenant and Iron Fang opened up, plasma torpedoes, Gauss cannons, and rail slugs hammering out in a wall of metal and fire. The first Volari destroyer took 3 direct hits. Armor peeled back like foil, atmosphere venting in a bright flash. It spun out of formation, engines flaring wildly. Then the Alliance opened fire. The bridge shuddered as plasma lances ripped past, one grazing the Valiant's port side. Armor plates buckled but held. Internal bulkheads sealed instantly. Briggs barely noticed. His voice was a weapon now, cutting through the noise. Maintain barrage. Target their lead ships. Break the wedge. Harper shouted over the din. Zantri wings decloaking. Port side. Bring us about. All point defense. Priority to Zantri targets. The battle turned savage. The Zantry wings swarmed in, sleek black ships built for assassination. They darted around the Valiant like hornets, unleashing missile swarms and focused particle beams. But Earth's warships weren't helpless prey. The Valiant's point defense turrets came alive, spitting walls of fire. Zantry ships exploded in brilliant blooms, debris scattering across the void. Meanwhile, the Revenant drove straight into the heart of the Alliance formation, broadside cannons pounding a Lothari cruiser until it cracked apart. The Iron Fang followed, hammering through destroyers with brutal efficiency. Briggs stood steady at the center of it all, voice calm, eyes cold. "Shift fire. Next target. Keep them off balance. No retreats." Harper called updates. "Volari line breaking. Zantry wings at 50% losses. Lothari battleships holding, moving to reinforce." Briggs keyed the EMP charge circuit. "If they push for a breach, we light the wreck." Suddenly, new alert. "Captain," Harper shouted. "New contacts. Unknown drive signatures. Inbound fast." Briggs's head snapped up. "On screen." The holo lit up, 6 ships dropping from FTL, black-hulled and jagged. Not Alliance, not Earth. Karnan mercenary ships. Briggs's eyes narrowed. They brought in hired guns. The Karnan ships wasted no time. They darted in fast and lethal, targeting the Valiant directly. "Brace for impact," Harper yelled. Explosions rocked the hull. A Karnan torpedo breached Deck 11, sending firestorms through the lower sections. Damage reports flooded the bridge. "Decks 11 through 13 compromised. Fire teams en route. Forward rail battery offline." Briggs's voice never wavered. "Reroute power. Bring starboard batteries online. Kill those bastards." The fight reached a new level of brutality. The Karnan ships moved like vipers. Fast, precise. But Briggs countered with pure, relentless force. The Valiant's surviving guns tore through 2 Karnan ships in under a minute, rail slugs punching clean through their thin armor. The Revenant and Iron Fang engaged the rest, flanking and blasting Karnan vessels apart. But the damage was mounting. Briggs knew they couldn't hold forever. He opened the fleet channel. "Hale, Draeger, we go to Phase 2. Hale answered instantly. "Roger. We've got your back." Draeger's voice was like gravel. "Let's show them why Earth still owns war." Briggs keyed the EMP bomb trigger to stand by. "Harper, countdown, 1 minute to detonation. Full evacuation readiness." Harper's eyes flicked to him. "Sir, that'll knock us out too." Briggs nodded grimly. "Better dead than handing them that wreck." Across the battlefield, the Alliance saw the shift, Earthships pulling into defensive posture, the Valiant's reactor spiking visibly. Kreth's final transmission cut through the noise. "Briggs, stop. If you detonate, you'll cripple the entire sector. This is madness." Briggs answered with cold clarity. "Then back off." 10 seconds left. But then, a new alert blared. "Captain," Harper shouted. "Multiple Alliance ships. I'm pulling back." On the holo, the Alliance blockade fractured. Volari destroyers retreating, Zantry wings fleeing, Lothari battleships breaking formation. Fear. They'd seen Earth would go down fighting, and take them with it. Briggs didn't hesitate. "Abort EMP. Hold fire. Maintain readiness." As the Alliance fleet scattered, the Karnan ships cut and ran, diving for deep space. The battlefield went eerily quiet. Briggs let out a slow breath. "Report." Harper was grinning now, blood on his brow. "They've broken, sir. We've held." Across the battered bridge, cheers rose. Not polished, not ceremonial, just raw survival. Briggs stood and spoke so all could hear. "This is just the first battle. They'll come again. But now they know, if they want a war with Earth, we will give them one." The battlefield drifted in eerie silence now. Wreckage tumbled through the void, scorched fragments of Alliance ships, shattered Karnan hulls, glowing slag from rail impacts. The air aboard the Valiant tasted of sweat, metal, and ozone. But Earth's wolves still held the field. Briggs stood on the bridge, boots planted firm as the tactical displays updated. His voice was low but steady. Status. Harper wiped a line of blood from his cheek, fingers still flying over the console. Alliance forces have disengaged. Remaining Karnan ships have gone dark and jumped to deep space. The Revenant and Iron Fang are reporting minor damage, both still combat-capable. He glanced at the casualty reports scrolling on his display. We lost 23 crew, 30 wounded. Lower decks will need days in dry dock. Briggs's jaw flexed. 23 dead. A hard price, but they'd held, and in this galaxy, holding mattered more than survival. Holding meant respect, or at least fear. Engineering? Briggs asked. Grayson's voice came over the comm, rough as ever. Main power's stable. EMP rig is offline, secured. We're running on backup coolant for the starboard reactor, but she'll hold. Damn fine fight, Captain. Briggs allowed himself a grim nod. He keyed the fleet channel open. Hale. Draeger. You still with us? Hale answered first, his voice tight with adrenaline. Revenant's bruised but still kicking. That was one hell of a stand. Draeger's deep voice followed. Iron Fang is solid, and the Alliance just learned what Terran steel tastes like. Briggs spoke plainly. We hold this position. Until command says otherwise, no Alliance ship comes near this wreck. No negotiations, no salvagers, no vultures. Both captains answered together. Understood. Hours passed. The bridge crew rotated through shifts, exhaustion creeping in, but no one abandoned their post. Briggs remained at his station, unmoving. This wasn't victory, not yet. It was a warning shot across the galaxy. The Alliance had retreated, yes, but not because they'd accepted Earth's claim. No, they were bleeding and regrouping. Political knives would come next. And Briggs had no illusions. Earth might have won this battle, but the war for its place in the stars was just beginning. A priority comm alert blinked. Harper straightened. Sir, transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Roth Briggs keyed it through instantly. Roth's face filled the hollow, eyes colder than ever. Briggs, I've read the reports. Hell of a stand? Briggs replied bluntly. They pushed. We pushed harder. Roth's mouth twitched. And now they're screaming to the Council. Multiple factions calling for sanctions, even full blockade against Earth. Briggs expected no less. Let them scream, he said. They came here to steal blood-earned salvage. We defended it. Roth's voice hardened. You did more than defend. You embarrassed them. Earth's image across the sector just changed overnight. He leaned forward. They no longer see us as a marginal Deathworld species. Now they see us as a rising threat. Briggs didn't flinch. Good. Let them think twice next time. Roth's tone dropped. And they will. Intelligence reports indicate. The Alliance is convening an emergency session. They'll likely move to classify Earth as an untrustworthy aggressor species, revoke trade rights, restrict ship movements, cut us from the core sectors. Briggs's mouth thinned. So be it. But Roth wasn't finished. And some want more. Certain factions, Valari Warclans, Lothari High Houses, are pushing for open war. That made the bridge go still. Harper whispered, War. Briggs' gaze didn't waver. Let them come. Roth looked grim. Earth Command is preparing. Full fleet mobilization is already underway. But understand this, Briggs. This won't be a clean war. The Alliance won't face us openly. Not yet. They'll come with assassins, blockades, sabotage, false flag attacks. Briggs nodded. They already tried that with the Karnan. Roth grunted. And they'll try worse. He paused. Then, Here's your new orders. You are to hold position at the wreck site. Salvage crews and science teams are inbound. 2 days out. Protect them at all costs. Do not allow any foreign vessel within 50 clicks. Briggs acknowledged. Understood. But Roth wasn't done. And Briggs, watch your back. Political knives will come faster than fleets. The Council is already split. Half want to appease the Alliance, the other half want blood. Briggs's voice was iron. I didn't come out here to play politics. Roth's eyes locked with his. Out here you don't have a choice anymore. The feed cut. Silence hung on the bridge. Harper exhaled slowly. Looks like this war's just starting. Briggs nodded once, and we just fired the first shot. Later, Briggs walked the ship alone, from damaged gunnery decks to smoke-stained corridors to the quiet of the observation bay. Outside the viewport, the Harrower's ruined carcass still drifted, a silent testament to what Earth could do, and to what was coming. He stood there a long time, watching the stars, his thoughts cold, clear. This was bigger than the wreck now, bigger than a single battle. The old order was cracking, and Earth was the hammer striking the cracks wider. But hammers made enemies, and the next blow would fall soon. A quiet chime broke his thoughts. Captain, Harper's voice came over the comm. You're needed on the bridge. Incoming ship. Single contact. Unknown configuration. Briggs' eyes narrowed. On my way. He arrived in moments. Harper met him with a tense look. Sir, it's not Alliance, not Karnan either. We can't ID the drive signature. It's running stealth protocols we've never seen. Briggs moved to the display. A single ship, sleek, dark, angular, was approaching the wreck slowly. No weapons charged, no response to hails. Briggs's instincts burned hot. A merc? A privateer? Harper shook his head. Too clean, too precise. Briggs keyed open the fleet channel. Hale, Drager, we've got an unknown inbound, ready to engage. Hale's reply was instant. We've got you covered. Drager's voice rumbled. If it twitches wrong, we kill it. The strange ship came closer, now less than 30 clicks out. Still no response. Briggs's voice cut through the tense air. Target it. Full weapons lock. But then, another alert. Sir, Harper called. It's transmitting. To us only. Tight beam burst. Briggs frowned. Content. Harper's voice was tight. It's a message. Text only. He read it aloud. Parley requested. Terms of power. A cold silence fell over the bridge. Briggs' eyes narrowed. Someone wanted to talk, but not like the Alliance. Something new had entered the game. The message hung in the air. Parley requested. Terms of power. Briggs stared at the holo, fingers tapping the armrest of his chair. No insignia, no ID, no ship registry. Whoever this was, they weren't part of the Alliance or any known faction. Harper spoke quietly. Sir, they're still holding position. 25 clicks out. No weapon locks, no further transmissions. Briggs nodded slowly. They want us to know they aren't afraid. But they also weren't suicidal. They knew damn well the Revenant, Iron Fang, and Valiant could tear them apart if needed. Options? He asked. Harper's voice was cautious. Could be a deep black merc group. Could be a rogue faction. Hell, could even be one of the Alliance inner cabals testing us. Briggs's eyes narrowed. Or someone who thinks they can buy us. Harper nodded grimly. Briggs stood. His voice was iron now. Send them this response. Terms must be delivered in person. One unarmed representative only. No tricks. Harper hesitated. Sir, you're bringing them aboard? Briggs' voice was low and hard. We need to know who's moving behind the Alliance now. And if they're bold enough to contact us mid-blockade, I want to see them eye to eye. Harper gave a curt nod. Aye, sir. The response came back minutes later. Request accepted. Preparing envoy. An hour later, the strange ship docked with one of Valiant's secure hangars, under full guard. 2 platoons of armed Terran Marines lined the bay, weapons ready, every approach covered. Briggs waited at the head of the formation, clad in full combat armor, sidearm at his hip. No ceremony here, just force. The shuttle hatch opened with a hiss of pressure, and a single figure stepped out, tall, lean, wearing matte black armor, non-military cut, no visible rank, no insignia, helmet tucked under one arm. The man stopped 10 paces from Briggs and bowed slightly. His voice was calm, precise. "Captain Briggs, I thank you for accepting parley." Briggs's gaze was cold. "You're not Alliance." "No." "Not Karnan." "No." Briggs folded his arms. "Then say who you are, or turn around." The man gave a faint smile. "I speak for a consortium that prefers discretion. But for your purposes, know this. We represent certain powers within and beyond the known Council territories. Those who see what's coming?" Briggs' eyes narrowed. "You mean those who see Earth rising and want to cut a deal?" The man inclined his head. "Precisely." Briggs gestured sharply. "Walk." He led the man to a private conference room off the hangar. 6 Marines on guard inside, rifles ready. Briggs took a seat across from the envoy, eyes cold. "Talk." The man folded his hands. "You have changed the balance of power in this sector, Captain. More than you know. The Alliance is fractured. Factions within the Council are already preparing for escalation. Some seek to bleed Earth through proxy wars. Others want to bargain. Others," he smiled faintly, "wish to see the old powers fall." Briggs's voice was flat. "And you?" "We represent opportunity." The man leaned forward. "Earth has no allies. The Council will seek to isolate you. But that isolation makes you dangerous and valuable. We offer access, resources, intelligence, routes the Alliance would deny you." Briggs raised an eyebrow. "In exchange for what?" "Access to the Harrower salvage, and, future understanding." The envoy's tone was smooth. "When this war turns fully open, and it will, you will need friends in the shadows." Briggs stared at him, voice low. "You think I'd sell tech to a nameless cabal? To a man who won't even show his badge?" The man smiled faintly. "You're already fighting a war with no rules, Captain. You used forbidden weapons. You made forbidden kills. You have no safe harbor left." He leaned in. "But work with us, and Earth won't fight alone, not truly." Silence hung in the room. Briggs' mind worked cold and fast. They were right about one thing. Earth was isolated now. No Council planet would honor trade deals. No Alliance convoy would escort Earth freighters. Sanctions, blacklists, and shadow war were coming. Every intel report said the same. And this? This was the first vulture landing on the field, but also the first scent of a weapon Earth could use. Briggs's voice was a blade now. "Say I don't shoot you and space your ship. What guarantees do you offer?" The man's smile sharpened. "You already know. We reached you. Mid-blockade, past every screen. We can offer routes no Alliance sensor net covers. We can feed you their war plans before they move. And certain factions inside their military would prefer to see Earth bloody the old orders." Briggs sat back, thinking. Dangerous, but useful. "Terms?" he asked. The man spoke clearly. "You give us non-weaponized data cores from the Harrower, biological tech, alloy composites, non-combat systems. In return, we provide unmonitored star routes, supply networks outside Council reach, and actionable intelligence. No formal alliance, pure transactional loyalty." Briggs drummed his fingers on the table. A deal with the devil. But in war, devils were often useful. Finally he spoke. "One condition." The envoy tilted his head. "Name it." Briggs's eyes were ice. "If you cross us, if your network bleeds Earth, betrays one crewman, one ship, there will be no shadows deep enough to hide you. Understood?" The man smiled, unfazed. "Understood, Captain. Wolves respect wolves." Briggs stood. "You'll get your cores. On our timeline, no faster." The envoy rose smoothly. "And you will have our support, when it matters most." Minutes later, the man departed. Briggs watched the unknown ship undock and vanish into deep space, drive flaring cold blue. Harper approached quietly. "Sir, you trust them?" Briggs gave a faint, grim smile. "Number, but I trust what they fear." Harper's brow furrowed. "What's that?" Briggs's gaze was on the drifting wreck of the Harrower, and beyond it, to a galaxy now watching Earth with new eyes. "What we've proven," Briggs said quietly. "That Earth won't kneel." Later, back on the bridge, he sent the final report to Admiral Roth. "Blockade broken. Salvage secured. Outside actors making contact. Recommend preparing Black Fleet elements. We will need them. This war has begun. Earth will not stand alone." Briggs. Outside the Valiant, the stars burned cold. Ships drifted in shattered silence. The wolves of Earth had drawn blood. And in the shadows, 1,000 new predators were moving. But so was Earth. And this was only the beginning.